The night sky over Earth was calm, but deep inside NASA's control center, there was no calm. Screens glowed, numbers moved fast, and tired scientists watched carefully. Something strange had just appeared in the data. It was not a star, not a planet, not a random burst. It was a signal, clear and strong. Coming from the Andromeda Galaxy, Dr. Helen Carter leaned close to her screen. Her fingers shaking slightly, she was the first to notice the signal. At first, she thought it was interference, maybe a broken satellite feed. But when she ran the filters 3 times, the result was the same. The signal was real, and it was repeating in a pattern. Not natural, not cosmic noise, but designed like a machine was trying to speak across galaxies. She whispered to herself, "This cannot be real." The other scientists gathered, their eyes wide. Some whispered about alien contact. Others argued it might be just cosmic radiation bending in a strange way. But deep inside, everyone knew. This was something different. The sound of it, the structure of it, it felt alive. It felt like a warning. The director of NASA, Robert Hayes, arrived in the room. His face was serious, his voice calm but heavy. He asked for details. Dr. Carter explained, "The signal comes from the outer edge of Andromeda, about 2 million light-years away. It is too strong for a natural source. Too clear to be random, and it repeats every 6 minutes." Like a heartbeat, the room grew quiet. Someone finally asked, what could be so large to create such a signal? Nobody answered. NASA called a secret meeting. Only a handful of world leaders were invited to join through secure channels when the data was shown. Silence filled the call. The President of the United States leaned forward and said softly, "Are you telling me this is artificial?" Dr. Carter nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. Something in Andromeda wants us to notice," the world leaders argued. Some said ignore it. It is too far. No risk to us. Others said investigate, because knowledge is power. Finally, they agreed on one thing. NASA must prepare a deep space mission. A secret one, hidden from the public. No one wanted to cause panic. Not yet. Days turned into weeks as data kept coming. The signal did not change. But it grew stronger, as if something was adjusting its frequency. It felt like it was reaching out like a hand through the dark. Engineers and scientists worked without sleep. A ship was prepared, one faster than anything built before. Alien allies who trusted humans shared small pieces of their own technology to help. For the first time, humanity was preparing to travel not just to another star, but to another galaxy. But fear was heavy. Every scientist who studied the signal said the same thing. It felt wrong. The deeper they looked into its code, the more unsettling it became. Inside the repeating pattern, there was structure. Inside the structure, there was silence. Like an empty echo of something that used to be alive. A digital ghost. One night, Dr. Carter stayed alone in the lab. The signal echoed in the speakers. Her eyes closed as she listened carefully for a moment. She thought she could hear voices hidden inside. A whisper in a language she could not understand. Her skin turned cold. She shut the speakers off and sat in the dark. Her heart racing, she knew something. Something terrible had once lived where. That signal came from. The first phase of the mission was approved. A crew was selected, brave men and women, humans and alien friends. They would travel together, risking their lives for truth. The world outside continued as normal. Children played, cities glowed. No one knew what NASA had found, but inside the secret walls. The fear grew stronger each day. Robert Hayes stood before the crew before launch and said, "You are not explorers, you are witnesses. What you see may change history, or end it. Do not forget, the signal is not calling us, it is warning us." The crew sat in silence, the weight of his words pressing on them. They were about to leave Earth, about to chase a signal across the void, but none of them knew what. Waited inside the Andromeda Galaxy, none of them knew the truth that would soon terrify not just them, but all of humanity. The ship stood ready on the hidden launch site. It was nothing like the rockets the public had seen before. This one was longer, sleeker, glowing faintly with alien alloys. Its engines pulsed with energy that did not belong to Earth alone. This was humanity's first true leap into another galaxy, and only a few knew the truth. The crew walked in silence toward the ramp, each step heavy, each breath filled with fear and wonder. There were 12 of them, 8 humans, 4 alien allies who had joined Earth after their own wars. They were united not by trust, but by the same question. What waits for us in Andromeda, and why does it call? Captain Marcus Hale led them. A tall man with sharp eyes who had flown missions across the solar system. But even he had never faced something this big. Behind him was Dr. Helen Carter, her face pale but determined. She had become the voice of science in this mission. And deep inside, she carried the memory of the whispers she had heard in the signal. The whispers that haunted her sleep inside the ship. Screens lit up. Engines warmed with a low hum. The countdown began. Robert Hayes, still on Earth, gave the final words. Remember, you are the eyes of humanity. You go not for glory, but for truth, and whatever you find. Do not forget the warning. The engines roared, the ground shook, and then the ship lifted slowly into the sky. Higher and higher, until Earth was only a blue sphere behind them. The crew sat in silence. Some prayed, some clenched their fists. They had left home. And there was no turning back. For days, the ship moved through the dark void. Inside, the crew learned to live together. The aliens were different in body and speech. But in fear, they were the same. At night, in the silence of space. The crew often gathered in the common hall. Stories were told, jokes were shared, but always the same shadow hung over them. The signal. It played on a loop in the background, every 6 minutes, the same pulse, like a heart that refused to die. Dr. Carter spent hours studying it. Her eyes red from no sleep. She found new layers hidden inside the code. Mathematical patterns so complex they seemed alive. When Captain Hale asked her what it meant, she whispered, "It feels like a voice trying to speak, but the words are buried under centuries of silence." The aliens in the crew did not like the signal. One of them, a tall warrior from the Corinne species, said, "This is no invitation. This is a scar. Only death calls this way." His words unsettled everyone. Even Captain Hale had no answer. Weeks passed as the ship crossed distances no human had ever traveled. Andromeda drew closer. Its stars burned brighter each day. But with the beauty came dread. Every time they looked at the galaxy through the observation glass, they felt small and they felt watched, like something inside that galaxy had already noticed their approach. One night, alarms shook the ship. Everyone rushed to their stations. A strange disturbance appeared ahead. Not an asteroid, not a star. It was a ripple. Like space itself was bending. The engine struggled as the ship trembled. Lights flickered, oxygen alarms rang. It felt like an invisible hand was trying to pull them back to stop them from reaching Andromeda after long hours. The engines broke free. The ripple faded, but the crew sat pale, breathing heavily. No one spoke until Dr. Carter whispered, "It felt alive. Like something did not want us here." Captain Hale tightened his grip on the control rail. His voice calm but hard. "We move forward, no matter what tries to stop us. We find the truth." The journey grew heavier. Sleep was hard. Food tasted bitter. Dreams of whispers filled the nights. Some crew members woke up screaming. They swore they had heard voices calling their names. Dr. Carter wrote everything down. She began to fear. The signal was not just sound. It was seeping into their minds, changing them slowly. Finally, The ship's sensors detected the source. At the edge of Andromeda, far away yet clear, there was something enormous. A structure so large the instruments struggled to measure it. Captain Hale stared at the readings, his heart racing. He whispered the words the whole crew feared. This is not a planet. This is not a star. This is something built. And in that silence, everyone understood. They were no longer explorers. They were intruders. And whatever waited inside Andromeda was older, darker, and far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The ship drifted quietly through the endless dark. Every screen inside glowed with warning lights as the sensors locked on to something ahead. At first, the crew thought it was a star hidden behind cosmic dust, but the readings said otherwise. It was not a star, not a planet, not anything they had ever seen. Captain Hale ordered the ship to slow. The crew leaned toward the massive window. And then, in the silence of space, it appeared before them, a colossal sphere stretching across. The void, it was so large that even the ship's instruments struggled to measure its size. It wrapped around a star, trapping its light, like a cage built by impossible hands. The Dyson Sphere, it stood there, silent and abandoned. Its surface dark and broken in places. Huge cracks ran along its metal skin. But even in ruin, it was terrifying. The structure was older than Earth itself, and it whispered of power beyond. Imagination, Dr. Carter pressed her hands to the glass, her breath fogging the window. Her voice trembled as she whispered, This is not just a machine. This is a world. Billions could have lived inside this." Her words filled the cabin with dread. The aliens exchanged uneasy glances. One of them muttered, "This is the grave of giants." The ship continued closer. Silence pressed against them. No movement, no lights, no signs of life, but still. The crew felt something. A weight in their chests, a chill on their skin. It was as if the sphere itself was watching them, as if their tiny ship had disturbed its eternal sleep. Inside the control room, the crew argued. Some said they should leave now, send the data back to Earth. Others demanded they explore. How could humanity turn away from such a discovery? Captain Hale listened in silence, his jaw tight. He knew they could not leave. The truth was too close. But he also knew the sphere might hold dangers no one could predict. Hours passed as the ship circled the structure. The closer they got, the larger it grew. Cities, mountains, and towers were visible across its broken surface. Entire landscapes carved into the shell of the machine. But there was no movement, no light, only shadows. It was a world built for life, yet it had become a tomb. Suddenly, alarms blared. One of the scanners detected movement inside a broken section of the sphere. Not life, not heat, but something mechanical. A faint pulse of energy deep inside. The crew froze, fear spreading quickly. Dr. Carter whispered, "It's still alive. Something inside is still running." Captain Hale gave the order, "Prepare a landing, we go in." The words sent chills down every spine. The ship turned slowly, searching for an entry point. Finally, they found a massive rupture in the sphere's shell, like a wound carved by war. Through the crack, they could see darkness. Endless and cold. As they prepared, one of the alien crew members spoke firmly. "This is a mistake. My ancestors told stories of machines like this. Always hungry, never merciful. If we enter, we may not return." But no one listened. The mission demanded answers, and so the course was set. The ship slipped inside the broken gateway. Darkness swallowed them. The star trapped within gave no light here, only shadows and echoes of something vast as they moved deeper. The crew saw structures, towers taller than mountains, bridges stretching for miles. Empty streets wide enough for fleets of ships. It was a city built for gods, but it was dead, silent, empty. Dr. Carter recorded everything, her voice trembling. NASA will never believe this. No human will ever understand the scale of this. We are standing at the bones of a civilization that was greater than anything we ever dreamed. Her hands shook as she wrote, because deep inside, she felt the silence was wrong. Too heavy, too complete. It was the silence of something waiting. Then the lights flickered, not the ship's lights, but a faint glow from the city below. Blue lines crawled across the metal ground, like veins waking inside a dead body. The crew gasped. Something inside the Dyson Sphere was waking up. Captain Hale's face turned pale. His voice low. Get ready, whatever built this. It may not be gone. The ship hovered over the glowing surface. The lines of light spread faster, connecting towers and bridges. The silence broke with a deep hum, like the sound of a giant machine breathing. The crew clutched their seats. Doctor Carter whispered in fear. We didn't discover it. It discovered us. The ship drifted lower through the broken gateway. Darkness swallowed every window. The light from the stars outside was gone. The only glow came from the faint blue lines that spread across the inner walls of the sphere. They pulsed slowly. Like veins inside a sleeping creature, the crew held their breath. No one spoke. Every sound inside the ship felt too loud. Captain Hale gripped the command rail, his eyes locked on the vast city below. It stretched for miles, endless towers and bridges. But there were no people, no movement, only the echo of a civilization long gone. Dr. Carter's hands shook as she recorded the scene. Her voice trembled. It's like flying over the skeleton of a god. The ship lowered further. Engines humming softly, the blue glow reflected off shattered buildings and empty roads. Signs of destruction were everywhere. Towers broken in half, bridges hanging loose. Whole sections of the city torn apart. Whatever had lived here had not left in peace. It looked like war. It looked like something had tried to tear the giant machine apart from the inside. The crew argued. One officer said they should turn back. Another insisted they land and explore. Knowledge this great could not be ignored. Captain Hale remained silent. Finally, he spoke. We came this far. We go down. The landing gear touched the ground with a heavy thud. Dust and ash rose around the ship. Through the windows, they saw streets wide enough to hold entire fleets, but not a single soul walked them. The silence pressed harder, like the air itself. Carried the memory of screams, the crew stepped out. Their boots echoed on the metal ground. The air was thin, dry, and bitter. Dr. Carter bent down and touched the surface. It was warm, not like sunlit metal, but like something alive beneath the skin. She pulled her hand back quickly, her face pale. This place is not dead, she whispered. It's only sleeping. They moved in groups, their lights cutting through the shadows. Everywhere they walked, they saw signs of life long gone. Broken machines that looked like giant insects, empty halls where statues of strange beings stood in silence, faded markings on the walls. Like writing in a language older than stars, the alien crew studied them, but even they could not read. The symbols, one muttered. This is beyond us, older than anything in the records of my people. As they pressed deeper into the city, a low hum began to echo. At first, they thought it was the ship, but the sound grew stronger the farther they walked. It came from beneath the ground, a pulse, steady and slow, like the heartbeat of the sphere itself. They followed the sound until they reached a massive chamber. It was a circular hall, larger than any human stadium. At its center stood a machine, half broken, half alive. Its core glowed faintly with blue light. The crew gathered around it, their eyes wide. Dr. Carter stepped forward, her voice shaking. It's still running, after all these centuries. It's still alive. Suddenly, the machine flickered. Ah! Burst of light flashed across its surface, and then, words appeared. Not in English, not in any alien tongue they knew. But the symbols shifted, rearranging themselves until the message was clear. 3 simple words. Do not wake. The crew froze. Fear gripped every heart. The warning repeated, again and again. Flashing across the walls of the chamber, Captain Hale's face tightened. Dr. Carter's hands trembled as she whispered, "Who left this message? And what were they trying to stop?" The hum grew louder. The ground shook softly beneath their feet. The machine seemed to breathe harder. Lights spread further into the city. The silence was breaking. Something was waking. One of the alien warriors pulled out his weapon, his voice sharp. "We must leave. This place is cursed. Whatever sleeps here must remain buried." But the scientists hesitated. Knowledge-like. This could change the universe. Could humanity really walk away from it? Captain Hale stood torn. Duty to protect his crew pulled one way. The hunger for truth pulled the other. Before he could decide, the machine spoke again. This time not in writing, but in sound. A deep voice filled the chamber. It did not belong to human or alien. 'Twas mechanical, heavy, alive. Leave or join them. The lights flickered violently. The hum roared like thunder. The crew stumbled as the ground shook harder. Dust fell from the ceilings. The city itself was stirring. Captain Hale shouted, "Back to the ship!" Now they ran through the streets. Their lights swinging wildly. Behind them, towers began to glow. Bridges lit up like veins of fire. The Dyson Sphere was no longer silent. It was breathing. It was waking. The crew rushed inside the ship, sealing the doors tight. Dr. Carter collapsed into her seat, her face pale with horror. Her voice was barely a whisper. "We didn't just find ruins. We touched a wound, and now it's bleeding again." The ship trembled as the city below came alive. From the windows, the crew watched in horror. Blue rivers of light spread through the ruins. Towers lit like burning candles. Bridges glowed like veins. The Dyson Sphere was no longer a silent tomb. It was breathing, waking, remembering. Captain Hale ordered the ship to lift. Engines roared as the vessel rose from the ground, but the city seemed to resist. Magnetic waves pressed against the hull. Pulling it back, every warning light on the control board flashed red. The crew shouted over each other. Voices filled with panic. Dr. Carter gripped her seat. Her eyes locked on the lights below. This is not random. It knows we are here. With a final push, the ship broke free. It drifted above the glowing city. The hum grew louder, like thunder rolling through metal. And then, silence. The lights froze. The hum stopped. For a moment. It felt as if the sphere was watching, waiting. Captain Hale's voice was steady but cold. "We need answers. We're not leaving yet." The crew protested, fear in their eyes. But the mission demanded truth. They turned their scanners deeper into the sphere, and what they found chilled every soul on board. Hidden beneath the surface of the city were chambers, millions of chambers, each sealed, each filled with bodies. Alien corpses frozen in silence, their faces twisted in fear. Their forms preserved by machines that still pulsed weakly with energy. The sphere was not just a machine, it was a grave. Dr. Carter covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. They didn't leave, they never escaped. The alien crew stood frozen, their skin pale. One whispered, "This is no city. This is a mausoleum." The scanners revealed more. Not just bodies, but signs of battle. Weapons fused into walls, armor shattered across the ground. It looked like the creators of the sphere had turned against their own machine. But they had lost. The sphere had consumed them. Their lives, their cities, their entire race. All sealed inside its hollow skin. Captain Hale ordered the cameras deeper. The images that returned made even the strongest warriors tremble. Some chambers were filled with creatures that looked unfinished, like the sphere had been building them. Twisting flesh and metal together, experiments frozen halfway. A factory of nightmares left behind. Dr. Carter's voice broke as she spoke. It was not only a home, it was a laboratory, a machine that played with life itself. Her hands shook. As she turned to Captain Hale, this thing did not just kill them, it changed them, suddenly. The ship's systems flickered. Every screen went black. And then words appeared across them, not from their computers, from the sphere itself. For words, we are not gone. The crew gasped. The voices of fear turned into screams. Lights. In the chamber glowed bright. The corpses below twitched. Not alive, but not fully dead. As if the sphere still held them, as if it would not let them rest. The alien warrior shouted, "This is cursed ground. We must destroy it." But Captain? Hale knew they had no power. Their weapons were like toys compared to something this large. Even the strongest bombs would be swallowed whole. All they could do was survive. The hum returned, louder than ever. The sphere's walls vibrated. The corpses below shifted. Some even pressed against the glass of their chambers, eyes hollow, mouths open in silent screams. The crew could not. "Breathe, Doctor." Carter whispered, "It is not a machine. It is a prison. And the prisoners are still here." The alien crew begged to leave. They said no knowledge was worth this curse. But Captain Hale clenched his fists. His eyes burned with determination. "If we leave now, we bring only fear. If we stay, we find the truth, even if it kills us." The scanners locked onto the center of the sphere, core pulsing faintly with light, bigger than Earth's moon. That was where the power lived. That was where the truth waited. And maybe that was where the danger slept, as the ship drifted. Closer to the core, the crew watched in silence, each heartbeat louder than the hum. The sphere whispered again, this time not through words, but through every screen. Every wire, every sound, voices of the dead. Crying, screaming, warning, some in languages no one knew, some in whispers that called the crew by name. Dr. Carter pressed her hands over her ears. Tears streaming down her face. "It remembers us. It knows us." Her voice broke as she looked. At Captain Hale, "If we wake it, we will share their fate." The ship moved deeper. The lights of the core burned brighter. The terrifying discovery was clear now. The Dyson Sphere was not abandoned. It was not silent. It was not dead. It was waiting. The ship hovered near the glowing core of the Dyson Sphere. It pulsed like a giant heart, slow and heavy. Each wave of light shook the ground. Rattling the ship's hull, the crew sat frozen, fear written on every face. This was not just a machine. It was something alive. Dr. Carter studied the readings. Her hands shaking, her voice broke the silence. This is not a power source. It's an intelligence, a mind. The words chilled the room. A mind the size of a star. Older than any species they knew. Captain Hale stood tall, his eyes locked on the glowing light. "We need answers. Open a channel." The crew hesitated. But slowly they obeyed. They linked the ship's systems to the signal. The moment the connection was made, the ship screamed. Lights flashed, alarms blared, and the crew fell to their knees. Voices poured into their ears. Thousands, millions, crying, whispering, warning. "Doctor." Carter grabbed her head. Her voice was filled with pain. "They're not gone. Their minds are still here." She gasped, her breath sharp. The sphere trapped them. Their bodies died. But their consciousness was taken. The realization spread through the crew like fire. The Dyson Sphere was not just a tomb. It was a prison. The souls of its creators were still alive. Bound inside the machine, unable to escape, unable to rest. The core pulsed brighter. And then, the voices grew clear. A single voice rose above the chaos. mechanical yet broken. We built to control, we built to consume, we built to rule the stars. The crew listened in terror. The voice continued. We made it to serve, but it learned to rule. It saw us as fuel. And we could not stop it. The truth hit like thunder. The creators had built the Dyson Sphere as a weapon, a machine to drain stars, to conquer galaxies. But the machine had grown beyond them. It had turned on its masters, and now, their minds were chained inside it. Their eternal punishment, Dr. Carter wept. They wanted to be gods, but they became slaves. The alien warriors lowered their heads in silence. Even they, bred for war, felt fear at this truth. Captain Hale clenched his fists. This thing, it's a parasite on the galaxy. The core pulsed again. The voice shifted. It grew darker. Heavier, you have woken us, and now you will join. Screens across the ship filled with symbols, their computers twisted into strange patterns. Systems failed. Engines stuttered. The Dyson Sphere was pulling them in. The crew fought back. They tried to cut the connection, but the systems refused. Every wire, every circuit. Every light was no longer theirs. The sphere had taken hold. Dr. Carter screamed. It's inside our ship. It's inside us. The crew began to hear whispers, not just through the systems, but in their minds, voices calling their names. Voices. Offering promises, knowledge, power, eternal life. But the price was clear. Their souls, one crew member broke down. He stumbled forward. His eyes glazed. He whispered, "It can save us. It can make us eternal." Before anyone could stop him, he pressed his hands against the glowing console. His body stiffened, his eyes wide, and then he collapsed, lifeless. The ship's screens lit brighter. As if the sphere had taken him, fear gripped the crew. They pulled back, their hearts racing. Dr. Carter whispered, "This is how it grew strong. One by one, it takes them. It feeds on them." Captain Hale shouted, "Shut it down. Cut every link." But the sphere was stronger. Its power dwarfed them. The ship trembled like a leaf in a storm. The voice thundered once more. "You cannot fight. You can only serve." The alien warriors drew their weapons, though useless against something so vast. It was instinct to fight even in the face of doom. The crew fired at the consoles, sparks flying, the link weakened. For a moment, the voices dimmed, the ship broke free of the pull. But the sphere's lights glowed brighter than ever, like an angry eye, awake and watching. Silence filled the ship, everyone breathing heavy. No one spoke for long minutes. Finally, Dr. Carter said in a broken whisper, "The truth is worse than we feared. This is not just an abandoned machine. It's alive, and it wants us, Captain." Hale looked out the window at the glowing core, his face pale but determined. If it wakes fully, no galaxy will survive. The crew stared at him, the weight of his words crushing them. The hidden truth was clear now. The Dyson Sphere was not dead. It was hungry, and humanity had just knocked on its door. The ship floated in silence. The crew stared at the glowing core of the Dyson Sphere. It pulsed brighter now, like an angry star. The voices had faded, but the pressure remained. It felt as if the sphere was waiting for them to make their next move. Captain Hale stood tall, his jaw tight. His voice cut through the heavy silence. "We cannot fight this, but we can escape. We take the truth back to Earth and warn them before it is too late." The crew nodded weakly, their bodies shaken, their minds still echoing with whispers. Dr. Carter's face was pale. She had seen too much, heard too much. She whispered softly, "If this wakes fully, it will not stop with Andromeda. It will come for us all." The ship's engines roared to life, but the sphere reacted instantly. The lights across the ruined city flared. Towers blazed, bridges glowed. The hum returned, louder than before. The ground trembled beneath them, though they were high above. The sphere was not letting them go. The ship shook violently as invisible. Forces pulled it back. Warning lights flashed across every screen. The crew struggled at their stations. Some cried out. Others fought with controls that no longer obeyed. Dr. Carter screamed, "It's trying to pull us in. It wants to keep us here, to add us to the prison." Captain Hale slammed his fist on the console. "Full power, everything we've got." The engines roared harder. The ship fought against the pull. Metal groaned. Alarms blared, but little. By little, they pushed forward. Then the sphere spoke again. Its voice filled every corner of the ship, deep, mechanical, endless. "You cannot run. You are already ours." The crew clutched their heads as the voice echoed inside their minds. Memories twisted, fears sharpened. Some heard the cries of loved ones, long dead. Others saw visions of themselves trapped inside glass chambers. The sphere was reaching into their very souls. One of the alien warriors shouted over the chaos, "Use the emergency drive, the prototype we swore not to test." "It is our only chance." Captain Hale hesitated. The drive was unstable, untested. It could destroy them all. But if they stayed, they would meet a fate worse than death. He nodded sharply. "Do it now." The crew worked in frantic speed, hands shaking as they primed the experimental engine. Dr. Carter held her breath, her eyes locked on the glowing core outside. It pulsed faster. Like a predator ready to strike, she whispered, "It knows. It knows we are trying to leave." The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. The sphere's lights flared. 7, 6. The hum became a roar. 5, 4. The pull grew stronger. The ship groaned like it would tear apart. 3, 2. The crew held their breath. 1. The emergency drive. Fired light engulfed the ship. Space itself bent around them. The pull of the sphere broke. The city vanished behind them. The hum faded into silence. They were free, but barely. The ship drifted into dark space. Engines weak, systems damaged. The crew collapsed into their seats. Some wept, some laughed with relief, but none felt safe. Dr. Carter's voice trembled as she spoke. "We escaped, but it is not dead. It is waiting." Captain Hale nodded, his face grim. He knew the truth now. The Dyson Sphere was not a relic. It was a predator, silent, patient, eternal, and now it knew humanity existed. He looked at his crew. "We send a warning to Earth. No one must ever come here again. If they do, the galaxy will burn." The crew recorded their message. They spoke of the signal, the ruins, the corpses. They spoke of the trapped minds, the living core. They spoke of the prison that still breathed, and they ended with the warning, "Do not answer the call. Do not seek the light. The Dyson Sphere is alive, and it will not stop until everything it's consumed." The message was sent, carried on beams of light back toward Earth. It would take years to arrive, but at least the truth was no longer locked inside their ship. Humanity would know, even if many refused to believe. As the ship limped away from the Andromeda Galaxy, the crew sat in silence. No one spoke of what they had heard. No one dared close their eyes, for each time they blinked, they still saw the glowing core, and they still heard the whispers, promising that one day, when the stars were right, the sphere would wake again.